elsewhere because the DC for KJB in the OT region, Wilson Banyo, as we understand, has escaped a mob attack this afternoon, as you see on the screens right now, of course, during a visit to a bereaved family in Yajo, a community within the OT region. We understand that 2 football stars in the district lost their lives on Christmas Eve during a chase by the national security operatives over a suspected vehicle carting cocoa beans to and through the area. And of course, some enraged family and friends say that it was the DC who actually brought the national security operatives there to foment trouble in the area, a reason for which the attack. We can get more from Peterson, who is joining us via Zoom right now. He is, of course, in the OT region for us. And Peter, just bring us up to speed with what we're seeing right now on the screens.
Yeah, Blessed, what you are seeing happened, let me say, maybe an hour or less than an hour ago, when the DC went to the community to commiserate with the bereaved family over the death of 2 of their children. And so it was during the commiseration, in fact, they almost got finished with the conversation when I stepped off to speak to a brother of the deceased, when I saw people running up and down, women running for their lives. So I just stood aside to see what exactly was happening. When the DC was virtually shoved left, right, center, and then physically prevented from entering his car, it took the tax of the security, the police guys with him to get him into his car. And then what happened next was like an action movie we see on television.
And so, and for those who just might not, have an understanding to the story, who are these footballers, and what exactly happened with this national security operatives?
Good. It was just as you narrated. Yesterday in the evening, they came to KJB and were returning to the Yajo community. And so, in that chase by the national security operatives, and then we understand that the vehicle that was alleged to be carrying the cocoa beans was not even giving them way to overtake them. And so why the accident happened was just close to a speed ramp. And I want to believe that the driver might have slowed down, giving way. And so with the national security car trying to overtake, they ran into these guys returning from KJV into Yajo community. In fact, they were footballers. And as we speak, I saw 2 agents in the community who have come to, in fact, pick them up for a game, I think from tomorrow to over the weekend. So the loss is a big blow to the community, but these are the things that happened that led to their death and subsequent attack on the DC.
What's the status of the DC as we speak now, and what more do we know about his safety or otherwise?
Well, I was part. We are safe. He's also safe, but as for me, I am a bit shaky within because I've not seen this kind of thing before. And I shudder to understand why they would want to attack someone who is in charge of government business in the district. And so the DC, as we speak, is safe. I can report.
The way forward as to what might happen, are we likely to see investigations? What else will happen?
Exactly so. For me, it's a security issue, 1 for the district and 2 for the region. What is happening around the Ahamansu? In fact, 2 weeks ago, we reported a shooting incident that happened around Ahamansu. This place and the Yajo community, they are just few kilometers apart. And so it should be of interest to authorities to, as it were, do what it should to forestall anything. Because what I hear on the ground, if the DC will be attacked, a lot of reprisals. In fact, they wanted to burn down one of the guys, either the pickup of the police vehicle or the vehicle of the DC. That was exactly what they wanted to do. This afternoon that, I should say, we escaped. And so, another thing that government might want to look at is the price of cocoa beans, if that is true.
Peter, are you with us?
Yes. They were chasing a car that was cutting off cocoa to be looked at. Because the exchange rate there is better, and then the price there is far, far better than whatever what government is giving there. So that is a motivation for them to be moving the cocoa beans, if that is true, and anything to go by.
Okay. Any deployment so far in terms of security personnel, police or others, in the community?
No, not really. It is only the should I say, the police in the district that they are not even situated in the community, but they are just at their normal post. But as for the national security operatives, as I have seen them in their numbers at the barriers, there's no single presence of any of them in the district as we speak. That's it.
Peter Seno, our correspondent in the OT region, bringing us up to speed. I will take you up north because authorities in the Chereponi district of the northeast region say they are mobilizing civilian volunteers and individuals to take over the positions of public service persons in the Wenchike and Dambo communities. This is after renewed chieftaincy clashes last month forced many professional public sector workers to flee the area. School and health care, centers, as we know them, have remained closed whilst socio-economic activities are yet to resume. Speaking after meetings with the feuding factions, Regional Minister Yidana Zakaria directed the District Chief Executive to, in the meantime, solicit support from some competent community members to replace those fleeing the community.
More than a month after violent chieftaincy conflict broke out between two Anofo tribal factions, the Jabos and Fombrons here in Wenchike, socio-economic activities are still far from being restored. Schools and health facilities remain closed, farmlands abandoned, and many other public services still unavailable. The violence was said to have erupted after angry Jabu youth in Dambo blockaded and attacked the Fombron chief of Wenchike, who was on his way to attend a political event in Nalirgu. The chief and his driver, however, managed to escape, but not until the pickup truck they were traveling with was extensively damaged by the irate Jabu youth. Upon his return, his supporters allegedly launched a deadly counter-attack on houses and properties of the Jabus in Wenchike. At least 7 people were killed and over 20 houses set ablaze, including houses that were rented out to and occupied by teachers, nurses, and other government workers. In one of such houses located near the community market, 2 teachers, a male and female, had their properties in their rooms completely incinerated. Attackers also attacked another house occupied by a nurse. The room of the nurse and her livestock pen raided and the animals looted. Following the attack, all public sector workers then fled the community and vowed never to return.
The rooms for teachers who are not natives, people who are from the south, we have burned them, including their properties. Naturally, you don't expect these people to be happy. So I'm not surprised that they have actually deserted the place.
The Regional Minister Yidana Zakari, speaking to Joy News after leading members of the Regional Security Council to the community, described the development as regrettable and painful. Mr. Yidana also revealed that as part of interim measures in response to the mass exodus of public sector workers in the community, he had issued a directive to the District Chief Executive to search and enlist competent individual volunteers to replace the professionals with the provision of some public services.
So I was just talking to the Chief Executive to see what we can do and get the natives involved. Because when schools will open in January, we don't expect to see these schools closed. The natives must take that initiative to get these children back into the classroom, and those who can teach should start doing so. Once we plead with the educational authorities to see if they will post teachers who will accept to come back. And for those who have run away, we are appealing to them. Much as we all regret what has happened, they are there to serve Mother Ghana. So when schools are open, they are not a party to the conflict. I believe when they come back, the people have learned their lessons so that together we can build the Chereponi district and together build that.
The community assemblyman Alasan Abdelganiu also expressed worry about the future of their children and appeal for assistance.
We still have to make an appeal to the Honorable DC, Health Director, Director of Education, and those stakeholders to appeal to them to get us teachers and then nurses back. In fact, it is the children who are future leaders. And if these children are not educated, you can see what is currently happening. What will happen in future, you can't tell. So we still have to appeal to them. Even though it has happened, they have to look at us and consider us for the future. But if we get these people, well educated, I think they will help us to resolve this issue that we are finding ourselves.
Well, fortunately, the Regional Minister, Idana Zakaria, is joining us now for a brief conversation on this matter. Thank you so much, sir, for your time. Now you're asking competent, as you described them, volunteers within the community to support in the meantime while we have public officers fleeing the community. How many people have you reached out to so far in a bid to, make up for the numbers and the mass exodus happening within the area?
Good evening, and thank you for asking me my opinion on the issues concerning education in the area. Yes, I discussed with the assemblyman the seriousness of that issue. See, if we have a community where due to communal violence, teachers, nurses have all run away, leaving school children alone, and as a result, the schools have closed down, that should come to every Ghanaian as a piece of sad news. So we are trying to mobilize the local people who have had at least minimum education of a diploma to the degree level, so that when we mobilize them, they will take charge of the schools until such time that we restore calm. For now, I cannot speak to the numbers. Well, we are still trying to reach out to people. So I can't put a finger on the numbers, but I think by the 4th of January, we should have been able to get some of the local people who would want to volunteer to teach.
I see, and clearly, yes, because of the time frame, you're unable to put a figure to that. But in your estimation, what will happen in terms of normalizing the situation there? What timeline are you using just to see the return of professionals? Because you would want to bring a lasting peace to the area so the professionals could return.
Yes, we had our engagement with the two factions. We want to go back to the paramount chief. Then we have another roundtable discussion with the leaders of both factions and the members of the National Peace Council. When we are able to get assurance from the factions that they will lay down their weapons and embrace peace, so that we look at the substantive issues at stake. But for now, we need peace for the return of the teachers and the nurses. If the community members cannot give us this assurance, it becomes difficult to convince them to come back. It even becomes more difficult to get the local people who may want to volunteer, because the locals will not just come from one faction. They will certainly will come from both factions. And to meet in the school, to teach children, they themselves must be at peace. So it's quite a difficult issue. But I believe that when people embrace peace, all these difficulties shall be dealt with.
Is it the case that you're overwhelmed, looking at the sheer level of violence in the area? Because some say that, a simple deployment of military or police personnel might check the situation entirely. Are we wrong on that?
I personally think that the deployment of police and military is not the solution to the problem. Peace comes from within. Peace cannot be imposed on people. So once they have not forgiven each other and they have pent-up feelings about themselves, the military and the police can only restore semblance of peace. But ultimate peace must come from the people themselves, who must agree that the presence of the police is not enough for them to go to the farms, for them to go to the market, for them to go and fetch water and to do other social activities. The police and the military cannot be everywhere. But when the people embrace peace, that will be enduring and lasting peace.
As a regional minister, where do you take responsibility?
Well, I think that as a leader, in all these happenings, I cannot pretend to think that we have our finger right on all the issues. But in all the violence that you are hearing about, it is all about chieftaincy related. And as a regional minister and the Regional Security Council and the District Security Committee, we cannot dabble in chieftaincy matters. This enskinment was done by His Royal Highness, the King of Dagbon, Dana Yana, the King of Dagbon. So we have told them that if they have issues about the right to ascend the throne, they should go back to the enskinning authority. But using violence will not be the solution to the problem. So we are also handicapped as politicians because we cannot decide on matters relating to chieftaincy. It is unfortunate that this is the situation we have had to face. So I will not say that politicians are to blame for this. So to get a solution to the problem, we must get back to the traditional authorities to see how they can deal with this issue. Because the banter has been who is the rightful heir to the throne. As a regional minister, I cannot determine the rightful heirs to the throne. That can only be done by the traditional authorities. So we have always said that if we want to find answers to the questions, then let's get back to the enskinning authority. But that can only happen if we embrace peace, if we stop the violence.
Are you escalating this to the National Security Council level? Because the fear is we have too many scattered or dotted flashpoints in the north, including the northeast region. What recommendations are you making as a council?
For the national security, honestly speaking, they are always available to support us in times like this. So if it is the intelligence, if it is the deployment of the military and the police, they have always been very, very supportive. So I can say that in all this, we have always been with them. But in terms of intelligence, in terms of our ability to deal with these issues, national security is better placed. So in our engagement, they will be a key part. We'll draw on their experiences and expertise to be able to find solution to this problem.
Finally, are you hopeful that the feuding factions will give peace a chance as we wrap up this conversation?
I am very hopeful of that. Well, when we visited the two factions, and I put to them the question, if we invite leadership of both factions to a meeting to further discuss on how we can deal with the issues, will they be willing to attend? The answer was that they are more than ready anytime, any day, to attend any meeting that will discuss issues pertaining to the peace of that area. So that in itself tells us that in the midst of all the confusion, the leaders of both factions are ready to sit down and talk and to be able to embrace peace. That gives me hope, and I believe that is what we should do together.
All right, Idana Zakaria is the Northeast Regional Minister. Grateful, sir, for your time. The Northern Electricity Distribution Company, NEDCO, says it has begun the installation of some meters to help ensure efficiency in its power supply to customers in the area. According to the power distributor, the meters will also enhance the detection of power theft in its catchment area. The manager for Network Planning and Development, Tampoli Mohammed Taim, indicates that this is a move to ensure efficiency in the system. He's been speaking to Joy News in an interview.
NEDCO has over the years battled with power theft, which accounts for about 45% of its losses. It is against this backdrop the company is introducing more efficient meters to help address the issue. Speaking at the second of a two citizen engagement organized under the Ghana Energy Sector Transformation Initiative project in Tamale, the manager for Network Planning and Development, Tampuli Mohammed Taim, said several people have been prosecuted since the installation of the meters.
Other measures are that we are putting on systems that makes it difficult for customers to tamper the meters. Although those systems are also being brought in to improve the service delivery of the customers, like the smart meters that we are seeing. But there are also meters, because they are smart, when you tamper with it, they communicate to us that somebody is tampering with our meter, and then we make follow-up, and then we identify the tamper, and then we take the legal actions against these customers.
The Director of Procurement at Gridco, Nicolina Yambila, said Gridco has upgraded some of its systems since the inception of the project.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we have to make sure that our system of transmission lines and substations are working in top shape. We should be able to sit in one small room somewhere in the country and see that the lines are operating properly. And for this purpose, we have to develop a SCADA system, supervisory control and data acquisition system.
And thanks for staying with us here on the Pulse on the Joy News channel. We're taking a break. When we get back, we're also looking ahead to the fun activities happening at the Ebri Botanical Gardens, where we're bringing you excerpts and a feel of what's happening at the Joy Family Party in the Park. You're watching the Pulse. We'll be right back.